Yes, I'll speak to that and a couple of other issues. So I'm Tamara Walker, Tamara, and as you can see, Lazendra has been traumatized by this incident. So let me clarify, the incident that they were talking about, the commotion at the Brickyard Mall, well, that commotion was Mia Wright being dragged out of the vehicle by a Chicago police officer by her hair. That's the commotion that Lazendra and Mr. Teague were speaking of. They were filming that incident unfolding right before them when the next thing they know, an officer comes up, first strikes the body of the back of their vehicle, then struck the back windshield. They were driving an SUV. The windshield was shattered. When they got out to check on the damage, to get supervisor information, to find out how this would be repaired, that's when an officer who had his badge covered, so they could not locate identifying information, no nameplate on his vest, that's when he struck her. She didn't even see it. She was backing up recording. He struck her from the front hard, full force with his baton, trying to dislocate her phone from her hand. He struck her in her hand several times. As you can see, she's still shaking. Her hands are tremoring. These are injuries that will be with her for who knows how long. And to the point that Mr. Allen spoke of earlier, we're both prosecutors, and we are looking for investigations here. We are looking for criminal charges to be brought. And there's a deeper issue. The issue is that upon them seeing a black woman who was brutalized by the police, then another black woman is brutalized by the police. And at this time, as Mr. Allen mentioned, we unfortunately, in a month, had the incidences of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. Too many times when black women are brutalized, there's not video. In the time of Sandra Bland and Rekiah Boyd, thankfully, our client was not murdered by police, but she was able to capture what happened to her. And we're hoping that that can help her get the justice that she so justly deserves. And that the narrative about black women being murdered and brutalized by police is not lost. It is very important that we do push forward as much as possible as we can for reform in the Chicago Police Department and in police departments around the world. These examples illustrate that in a time of tension, post-George Floyd grief, the people that, as Lazendra said, the people that she looked to protect and serve were the ones who were the offenders against her when she was doing nothing wrong, simply trying to leave the parking lot. This is a narrative that we're hearing far too often, and this is a narrative that must end.
I just have a few general questions, just to kind of get the feeling of exactly what happened. So the two victims were in the vehicle alone in their car, is that correct, or did they have other people with them?
Mr. Teague also had his brother and another gentleman was with them. They were picking up Miss Collins. She had just gotten off of work, and the four of them were going to get something to eat.
Okay, so there's four people in the car. I believe you said it was a Jeep. Did she work nearby? Like, were they picking her up and she was on the way? What was sort of the scenario?
Yes, she worked at a liquor store nearby, a couple of blocks from the Popeyes that they were headed to.
Okay, so once they got into the Brickyard Mall, they saw the commotion, they drove by, they started filming like probably 90% of the vehicles and everything.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this happens.
Well, the key that I think we have not really talked about is that police officers, in order to control the situation at Brickyard, had blocked off exits and entrances. So there were very limited options as to how people could leave. So they were within a line of cars, as Mia Wright was, in a line of cars trying to exit the location when the police brought an attack, a vicious attack.
No trigger, nothing. It's not like somebody called and said this car was doing this. Just all of a sudden, pick this car out, much like Mia Wright has said.
Nothing.
Do you think they were angry that she was videotaping this incident?
Absolutely. The officer struck her several times in her hands. At least 3 to 5 times she was struck with a police baton in her hands. And it appears that her injuries may be permanent. She's, of course, being diagnosed and treated now. So that's why we're calling for an investigation. We're calling for charges to be brought. We're calling for all appropriate bodies to look into what occurred. These vigilante actions by police officers must stop. And I understand that tensions were high, the looting had been happening. However, these people were in their vehicle. They were not doing anything other than waiting to leave.